I think in the end, this planet will go on. It will not explode, no matter what we do. But I think the biggest threat is to us ourselves, with what the damage that we're causing. In the end, we're going to run out of resources. We're going to end up killing each other for whatever is left. We're going to be riddled by diseases. That's why this is also this title, Inherit the Dust. Because it's also like, if we don't do something soon, that's all our future generations are going to get.
Talking about this, well, the new exhibition coming very soon, despite the virus and
Yes.
despite the protests and despite the fact that most galleries kind of gave up. This exhibition, which is about Africa, which the photographer is definitely not from Hong Kong. What is relevant to the city? Why did you
It's
decide to go
a very
ahead?
good question, because indeed it's all shot in Africa, and it seems about animals that live very far away from us in a country that maybe very few of us have actually visited. But the problems that indirectly, because directly it's maybe loss of habit, indirectly he is talking about here, this threat to biodiversity, animals being pushed to the extinction because humans consume it. That is a huge, Hong Kong has a huge role in that. I read reports, and again, it was before the coronavirus outbreak, and I'm very happy to share them with you. Hong Kong, until today, is still the major hub worldwide for wildlife trade. It's a huge problem right now because it is the main hub for a lot of the wildlife trade. And God knows, we don't have wildlife wet markets here, but something could have started to happen in a warehouse here instead of a Wuhan food market. Like, are we going to wait for this to happen before we're going to do something? Can we create a better place? And how can we start here? And how can we affect the rest of the world by banning certain things, by inventing better things, and pour money into that to replace the businesses that are now destructive by nature. I don't know. I don't really hold all the solutions, but I hope people smarter than me will actually somehow start to think about it and come together. So I hope as well with this exhibition that these kind of things will start to happen. People start to share, people come together, people meet each other, whether I'm involved in it or not, and just kind of, create have this awareness, like, okay, let's do something about this. I don't know. With this in mind, I started to research artists, and actually Nick Brandt, he was someone that I knew for a very long time. I mean, been following his work. He does amazing projects, and so I thought maybe I should just dig a little bit deeper, and so I looked more closely at all his work, and I saw this body of work, Inherit the Dust. He has other work as well, this empty world, and then just the animals by themselves, which he did before. But this really grabbed me because it's here you can really feel, it's very visual how animal world is impacted by, in a very direct sense in these pictures. So in these images, you see what looks like, urbanization, industrialized landscapes that have been altered by human impact in terms of urbanization, industrialization, deforesting. Basically, you see what there are places here where there are just dumping grounds. Looks like an industrial site, and in those grim kind of landscapes, you see like a panel with an animal, giraffe, elephant, monkey. Locations are actually all in Africa, Kenya, maybe some in Tanzania, I'm not sure, but that's where he's very active. And these, not so long ago, maybe a generation ago, or maybe even shorter, maybe something just a few years ago, still belonged to the animals, still was part of the wilderness where they could roam. Now that no longer is. So they're happy that is constantly decreasing.
It's really beautiful. It's very nostalgic. Could you tell me a bit more about the process?
He photographed the animals himself a while back. Then he made very large prints which he stuck on panels so that the animals became life-size. So if it's a rhino, the panel will be made life-size as if the animal is really there. This series he shot analog, which was very tricky because he was very far from his lab, so he didn't really know until months later whether the material he had was suitable, which was very tricky. On top of that, he really liked to have this more dramatic overcast sky, which is not very easy when you shoot in a place like Africa, which is blessed with many sunny and blue sky days. So this is an artist that really goes to great length to kind of create imagery, to not just be impactful, but also be very well executed in every sense, in terms of composition, the way he shot it, the format he chooses, like going through the hassle of shooting analog, where it could have been so much easier digital. The panels, making them really life size and putting them there, which is much easier to Photoshop, but like going through the hassle of really making it in situ, and then dealing with how people react to that, because of course people are there and they react to it, they look at you, what are you doing. He did find out that, and you see that a lot in a lot of pictures, that if he would stay in a location for a while setting up the panels and photographing, that people just normalized. They kind of at the beginning excited, something new is happening, what is it, but after a while they just go about their lives and their business. And so there is one picture which is beautiful, elephants in the Underpass.
A photo like Underpass with elephants reveals so much more as a result of the panel being there. I never imagined that the elephants would look so trapped between the two gargantuan concrete pillars, the matriarch appearing to be looking almost sympathetically at the humans also rendered homeless. I never imagined that her trunk would appear to be practically resting on the ground in front of the panel, not confined to the panel itself. I wanted just one person, a child, to see the animals in the panel, while all around no one else did. But I never imagined that this tiny boy, a child of one of the many homeless people sleeping out on the land beneath this underpass, would wander into frame, fascinated by these giant elephants, and touch them with what appears to be a stick in his hand. And I never imagined all the homeless kids, some as young as 6 or 7, sniffing glue from the bottles hanging from their faces. I never imagined the cruelly juxtaposed billboard beyond, featuring a well-to-do middle-class African man leaning back in his garden chair with a tagline beneath, "Lean back, your life is on track."
But yeah, Nick Brandt is more than just a photographer. He's an activist. His first encounter with Africa, I believe, was when he shot the video for Michael Jackson, Earth Song. He worked on that. I believe he was the director. And that's when he was just amazed by the country, but also really distraught by seeing how much damage there was being done. He then started the Big Laugh Foundation with Richard Bonham, which is a very well-known conservationist, which by now has grown into a whole area, cross-border, which is very difficult to manage in Africa. They guard an area 6 times the size of Greater Hong Kong, with 350 rangers, and they work very closely with the communities, a Maasai community, to have them on board to help them to protect whatever is there. So through their efforts, they actually managed to save a lot of elephants and rhinos already. Not all of them, unfortunately, because 350 people, the size 6 times of Hong Kong, you can imagine, it's difficult to control every corner and every time. But what was very effective is working with the Maasai community. That's actually quite amazing. And Big Life Foundation has been there for many years. Some you can also buy some of the prints directly from the Big Data Foundation website. That all goes directly to them. And they manage to fundraising efforts that helps to raise a few millions each year to help to kind of pay for the rangers, for the jeeps, for all the helicopters.
Yeah,
so it's a very positive what's happening there. He's the founder of that foundation. So amazing work. So he's not just photographing the issue. He's not creating awareness to his images. He's actually also doing a lot about it and has been for a long time. Yeah. So it's an amazing artist.